What is up, Retromaniacs? Welcome to the Retro Card Chat Podcast. My name's Mike. I am from Mike's Retro Trading Cards, and I'm joined by two men that need to bring their A game for the last couple weeks of the year to make sure that I renew their contracts for 2024. They are, of course, the Shohei Ohtanis of the YouTube content creation world, Joe Day and EP Eric Pahalik. How you doing, boys? The beard is gone.
The beard is gone, gentlemen. Folks. For those listening on the audio podcast, I have a beard normally, and it is gone.
Now you don't. There you go.
I'm. They're all caught up now. I'm letting the face kind of rejuvenate every so often. Though I did say to EP before we started recording, you really get to see how many chins you really have when you don't have a beard. Which, I won't be shaving anytime soon again. So I'm going to let it grow back in. But, so I'm fresh. I'm freshly shaved. I shaved last night, and I already have this. So the beard should be back.
Your beard is really grown in there.
I haven't shaved for like 7 days. It's really coming in really good.
For those the audio pod, EP cannot grow facial hair to save his life.
I did forget to shave this morning, and I was like, nobody's gonna notice it if I don't shave, but I still won't shave anyway.
Well, I'm growing out my Santa beard here, as you can see. It's getting a little longer here and getting way more gray, but I am ready to cut this back off. I just don't like it long anymore. But yeah, so how's it going, gentlemen?
It's going good. I mean, it's Sunday morning at 10:53. I better crack open a beer. Got a nice
Joe.
It
is Monday morning.
It's Monday morning. It's 7:05
for the audio listeners. It is Tuesday morning. Who knows what time? Sometime.
But EP, you gonna join me for one?
I am, and the viewers can join us as well. Whenever you.
Yeah.
7 a.m. Crack one open with us.
Yeah. What do you have going on this week? Nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want to say that I have a double fog monster from unofficial podcast sponsor Rusty Rail Brewing Company in Mifflinburg, Pennsylvania. I hope somebody sometime clips all those together, like all the ones that we've said, sends them to Rusty Rail. It'd be great.
That has to be worth a case of beer a month, right?
At least. What's the ABV on that bad boy, EP?
9.5.
I was gonna say it's a double. It's got to be up to 9.
It's a lot.
I think this is 6.
I won't be chugging it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, EP and I went to a card show yesterday again.
I heard that rumor.
And
we were lucky enough we were lucky enough to have a card show 2 weeks apart from the 2 weeks from the previous card show in the same place. It was awesome. Yeah.
This one was half the size though of the last one, so not really a big show, a little show, but I mean, I can always find stuff to spend money on. He did too. Yeah,
I spent way more than I did the last time.
There was a card show a week before I came into Danville for the holidays, and a week after I had left Danville for the holidays. Who's ever organizing these things obviously are not getting with us on our calendars because that is unacceptable.
You need to get them your schedule so they know when you're going to be here.
When I'll be in town, yeah. Okay.
And then that way we can do a live show from one of the card shows. No, maybe in 2024 we'll try to figure out a way to do that. I don't know.
Well, we need to start talking about potentially doing a live stream sooner than later, and I'll tell you why. Boys, I don't know if you know this, but we are getting dangerously close to a major subscriber milestone. 878 subscribers is right down the road. So for those of you who listened to our last live stream, which was, I believe, 642, I believe that was a major milestone.
I believe, yeah.
You'll know that 878 is a huge one for us. So once we get there, tell a friend. We'll do a live stream at some point after we hit that threshold of 878. So tell a friend, tell a loved one, subscribe to Mike's Retro Trading Cards. Come on, do it for the content.
Yeah, if you're watching, hit that subscribe. We have to get to 878. This is our goal. We promised everybody we would be
It's
live.
About 875 more than we thought we'd ever get to. So
right.
Yeah. Yes,
the three of us thought we'd subscribe. We couldn't even get our own significant others or family or friends.
Yeah. My wife still does not watch or listen to any of our content. try.
Rob doesn't either, so I can't even throw Amy under the bus.
Oh well. What can
if you're not, does your sister, does your brother-in-law, do those?
No, I mean, if you're not a collector, if you're not a card collector, like it just doesn't really play. Like even one that I thought was like it was insanely funny, and I played it for a couple people. Now my nephew listens. He's a fan of all of our shows, but yeah.
I have thoughts on that though, EP. I feel like we're just fun to hang out with.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, yeah.
We don't know anything at the end of the day. So is anybody really listening to us to find out anything? Like, what do we know?
Not.
Well, the thing we make so many references to tops and that sort of stuff, and some people just, if they have no idea what that is, like, I think a lot of our jokes are probably related to that, some of that sort of kind of stuff. But.
So we have to dumb it down for the people that don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Then we'll be like up to 878 in no time.
Yeah, I refuse though. We are not going to be the Matthew Perry.
We would lose subscribers.
Yeah.
No we're going to lose it anyway, because anytime we talk about subscribers, people unsubscribe.
They're like, wait a minute, was I subscribed to this? Unsubscribe.
Oh, well, one thing I do want to ask of our viewers is we are working on our end of the year episodes, and we want to know what you guys think were the 3 biggest hobby stories in 2023. If you have 3, share 3. If you have 2, share 2. If you only have 1, go ahead and share it. We want to make a list and kind of compare it to what we think and come up with the ultimate 2023 top stories show.
So you're saying we're going to make a list. I'm going to check it twice.
You know it.
What I did there?
Yeah, I did. It really doesn't work without the beard or a Santa hat. You're just some creepy guy.
Well, no, I'm the elf. I'm the elf. You're
Yeah.
Santa. Yeah. Look at EP's face. Doesn't he look like an elf? Come on.
He does.
He does look very elf.
An angry little elf, too.
Angry little elf.
Yes. Okay, well, we have a lot to get to this week, so we better get into it. Let's start off with a little bit of eBay investing in COMC. This news came out early in the week, and apparently eBay has invested quite a bit of money into COMC, and they're going to have this partnership going forward. Kind of interesting. Obviously, COMC being like pretty much the biggest vault in the world, where you don't have to have $10,000 cards to put them in the vault. I don't really know, like nothing that was released about this really said what the relationship is going to evolve, but clearly I think this opens up a lot of interesting opportunities with, like maybe I'll be sending all my cards to COMC instead of putting them on eBay myself. I don't know. I'm sure this has a lot to do with the vault and people just being able to transfer. You buy something on eBay and it goes right from here to there into your account on COMC. I don't know. I think the possibilities are interesting, even though we don't know a lot of the details at this point.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of like deal if you do use COMC for eBay sales, like some sort of like, instead of 12.9%, maybe it's a little bit better of a fee, a lesser fee deal or something like that. That there's opportunities here. The one thing I do want to say was kind of funny is that the 2 companies with maybe the most 1990s websites are joining forces. So maybe pick up, I don't know, an IT department. I don't know, like maybe some startup that's good at website building, because COMC's is terrible. eBay's is not that much better. So it'd be nice to get those. I get very nervous when I hear those 2 companies are coming together because of that and that alone. Otherwise, it's a great deal.
I think this is a good deal for both, probably. Like a couple of the takeaways that I got from some of the stuff that I read. COMC sent out something and eBay sent out something, and I know I never really thought about it, but that one of them listed the size of the COMC's space, like their warehouse or whatever, and just like I didn't think about it, but they must have like this just
wasn't it like 200,000 square feet?
Yeah, it was just an insane amount of space, right? Yeah. So that was I thought that was something I never thought about, interesting to think about, and that they're in charge of all these cards, and like it's the I believe that model and what they do there. Again, I agree with Joe 100% on the website, but their model and what they do there is really, really great for collectors, in my opinion. So, and it's, I mean, whether you're buying or just going to browse, like it's a virtual card show that you can just see just endless cards.
Oh, you can get lost on their website for hours.
Yes, yeah.
All of a sudden you look up, you're like, "Oh, it's 1 a.m. I was just like looking at random 1992 Marvel Universe cards. What just happened here?" You know. So that's you definitely. And Dustin uses the phrase, "What is it like the Disneyland or Disney World of cards?" when he shills for them on his channel. I mean, like. What he does, I mean, they're a sponsor. So, but that's a really good way to describe them. I mean, if you're a card collector and you want to see any card, it's there. You can find it on COMC. So now I sound like I'm shilling for him, but
we're not even being paid for it.
I mean, give us some scratch, COMC. Come on.
One of the other things was that I'm guessing, I think it was COMC's email said that their leadership team, like all this, like they're going to keep operating as they were, like, and it's not, so they're not changing. They're just getting money pumped into them from eBay, probably for deals as far as like sending more cards and stuff in. But I think that's a big thing because of the model they have and everything like that.
Hopefully, they'll be able to hire more people and be able to get cards taken in and listed on the site a little quicker. Because really, like, I would love to use COMC, but I can't get over that hump to begin with. It's like 3-4 month wait from the time you send the cards in before they start showing up in your account, and it's a long time. Like, I'm sure once you get it going, it's fine, but like I feel like I don't want to wait that long. So hopefully that'll be one area that they do a little better in.
It's also a pretty long wait to get cards back for them. Like if you have an order, they wouldn't give that. Yeah.
So hopefully maybe the investment, I mean, hire more people, speed up those times, maybe get a little better scanner with a little better picture of the cards would be nice.
It's odd because sometimes they're really good, sometimes they're not, right? Like it seems like maybe they just have the better.
I mean, cards are hard to scan too. Some of them, like the shinier cards, are always going to look bad on a scan, so they're much better in a picture. Yeah, but I mean, I'm excited to see where they go with it, and I'm a big fan of eBay. I know people want to call it eBay. They want to try to find every other place in the world to go. They complain about the fees, all this stuff, but I've been using it since 1997, and there is nowhere that you can offer your cards that you get the exposure you do on eBay. And where else can you sell? Like, you sell $2-3 cards, EP. Like, where are you going to do that? Like, no, Golden doesn't want those cards. PWCC doesn't want them. Other than COMC, eBay is really the only other place. So these companies deal in the stuff we deal in. So I feel like it's important to support them.
A lot of the cards that I even sell on eBay for $2 to $3 are ones that I wouldn't even be able to sell at a card show because they are, Gary Sheffield or Craig Biggio cards, which, I mean, those players are, I mean, Hall of Fame caliber players. Sheffield's not in yet. He might get in. He's got steroid issues, but I mean, like, I feel like you can sell cards like that and get them to buyers who are a Sheffield collector or a Biggio collector, where you can't get those people typically in central Pennsylvania, which is where
and how often do the three of us, like, we'll text each other and go, "Can you believe I just sold a 2003 Bowman Chrome Mike Steidman rookie red refractor uncirculated numbered to 235 for $4.50 plus shipping?" Like, where else in the world am I going to sell that card that I literally just sold last night? Like, you're not. So like, people want to complain about eBay, but really, Go make your own platform and figure it out. There's no way. There's no way it's going to happen.
You're paying 13% to have worldwide eyeballs on you. Like, really, think about that. 13% to have the whole world looking at you. That's
eBay,
worth
call
something.
Us. If you like what you're hearing,
I almost don't want to say it out loud, but it seems kind of cheap, right? Like, it seems like it's actually a pretty good rate. Like,
absolutely.
I don't want to give eBay any ideas.
I don't understand the complaining, because you really can't go anywhere else and sell cards and have like a lower fee. Like, where are you going to sell cards for 5%? Unless you have, like, to do stack sales or something like I do, you have to have a certain following to be able to get rid of cards. And like, I have a Victor Wembanyama rookie. I'm not going to be able to sell that to the people that follow me because they're not into that on Twitter. So I need eBay. So there's, the people that complain about it are just, they like to complain. Welcome to the hobby.
People on the internet like to complain? No. Stop
so I segue that by us getting ready to complain about, I'm not even sure you can call this complaining, but Arena Hub. We know that huge grading company that was started with money with Derek Jeter as an investor. You can see his card collection, whatever. I don't think I've ever seen anybody trying to sell an Arena Hub graded card, right?
I've never seen
Arena Club. I'm sorry, I keep saying Arena Hub because that's what they call the place, the what's the place called? The arena near me here in Wilkes-Barre. So anyway, back to the topic.
Yeah, right.
Watch out for that brick wall ahead. Arena Club is selling repacks. You can get 3 different levels. You can get the black level, 2 slabs for $50. You can get the silver level, 3 slabs for $100, or the gold level, 3 slabs for $200 with a higher level of card to get out of it. I don't know. All these said sold out, so I wasn't able to click on any of them and find out what they're offering. I think if you go in to buy what's available, they show you what you could get out of it. But like, imagine PSA like offering a repack. Like, this seems so cheesy to me on so many levels.
EP and I are both thinking eBay's or PSA's probably watching this going, wait, can we make money on this too?
Cheesy, but could you imagine how many they would sell?
Oh,
like the PSA fanboys, it would be
out like that.
That would be the new thing, like that in the entire hobby. Like all anybody would care about would be getting into the lottery for the PSA repack.
So I just blew it. Like now we're gonna have PSA repacks because I opened up my big mouth. And said what?
Yes, to answer your question, yes, I can imagine PSA doing this.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, but anyway, they're offering these repacks. They're a digital repack. You open the digital pack on their website. You get cards. They go right into your showcase, which is like your vault. I guess you can look at each person's individually. I don't know. Come on, like the repack thing has gotten out of control in this hobby. Like. One of the things I heard Neo report about this was he heard that one of the prizes was Super Bowl tickets at the highest level. You're raffling off Super Bowl tickets. Like we've talked about repacks and the legality of breaking and repacks for so long, but I feel like they're like just daring state governments to say, hey, look over here, come on, what are you gonna like it's bringing attention to the hobby that we're not going to want. And I feel like all this repack stuff is going to be that final straw that breaks the camel's back on getting states to regulate this for gambling, because it is gambling. There is no way that anybody could describe what this company is doing as anything other than gambling. They are selling gambling without a gambling license in any state to customers to buy on their website. And this, come on, like why do that?
It's not just a repack. It's a repack plus a Raz, right? Like a little bit. I mean,
yeah, I guess
like it's you're buying into a spot to try and get the big prize.
A repack is a Raz.
A repack is a Raz, so it's like
we're gonna give you
a
some
Raz
crap
on top of a Raz with the it's bad. I just want to put out an alert or just check. Ziggy, are you okay? Like Ziggy's seeing all this repack
let
news.
us know.
How are you doing? Are you getting through the days? Okay. Is your head exploding at all times? He was on a live stream with Dan the Card Man last night. Well, I'm sorry, Saturday night, because today's Monday.
Yeah.
He was on a live stream with Dan the Card Man talking about repacks. Ziggy's been in on this since the beginning. I do have to give him credit. He's been colorful vernacular aside, he has been very much into this repack thing for a while, talking about this. So Yeah, it is gambling. You're right, Mike. And at a certain point, like maybe like fanatics getting into gambling, like actual gambling, and not wanting to be too regulated on the card side of it. Maybe they start influencing it somehow. I don't know how that would even look, but like they don't want attention being drawn to them. Leighton Sports Cards doesn't want attention being drawn to them. Like these big companies who do breaking,
backyard breaks don't care, because I read that they're switching over to repack breaking, like, or they're doing more repack breaking. Like, I don't know.
That's a good point. That's a good point, because as I said, Leighton does repacks.
Mm-hmm.
They do repack breaks as well. They have their almanac, which I've talked about on this show numerous times. I think it's cool to watch. I would never get into it, but you're paying, I think it's like the pay on the level. You could pay $2,500 a spot for that super high end, and you could get a Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry 1-of-1 shield, which is worth maybe $200, $300, or you could get a Jordan rookie for, $2,500. It's worth $10,000. I mean, yeah, that's gambling. That's just straight up gambling.
Yeah, clearly.
I feel like I don't want to say all of them for sure, but I think a lot of the bigger breakers also do repacks. Like they'll put together cards, they'll buy cards and put together repacks of their own. But I want to know, like, if any of the Retro Maniacs got into this Arena Club thing. Did you were you there able to click on the thing and like see did they show what's available? Because if they're not showing what's available and they're just saying you're gonna get 2 slabs, you're gonna get 3 slabs or whatever, like that to me is horrible. Like that is the worst kind of repack.
They can't just show the best card.
Right. Like I want to know. I really want to know what they had.
The website did say that like it shows you everything. I just couldn't find it because there weren't any available, but it does say that like it's transparent with what's available. So I do give them credit for that. But I mean,
I was going to say that
still is what it is.
Yeah,
that was one of Dan the Cardman's biggest issues with Justin Gamble was that he was really not transparent at all about what he was putting in his repacks. But unfortunately, as you followed that repack story down the road, he ended up getting some sort of deal with a major company, and he ended up getting like a benefit for being terrible. Like, so it's like there's no ramifications for anyone, it seems, in the card world. And the only ramifications that could come, you're right, Mike, is if state governments start seeing this. How much money is made on this?
Yeah,
we can get a taste of that. We're going to regulate it. There's no doubt.
And Ziggy, like one of his main points, he gets a little out there with his hate of it, which I understand, but like there's no audit of what's going on here. Like they're saying everything's in there. We don't know. Unless you can get in touch with every single person who won one. You don't even know if you actually have any chance to win what they're telling you to win. Like when you start looking at it like that, I almost welcome state governments coming in to get rid of these people, because is there an easier way to scam people in the hobby than repacks? Throw fake cards in there, trimmed cards in there, not cards at all. Say you're going to have something, and everybody has a story of repacker at a card show and somebody offering to buy all of them. They won't sell all of them to them. Like, why? Like, because what you're supposed to get isn't in there. Like there is nobody auditing any of that stuff. You don't know. It's buyer beware, like on steroids. Like it just, if it's gonna be like this and the hobby looks like it's going more and more in that direction, then I say bring on the state governments. Not a fan of them getting involved in stuff, but in this case, I feel like they have to, because the idiots that are doing this and brazenly doing it are saying, come on, come at us, because I'm going to make tons of money off of this stuff until you come to make sure I'm doing it on the up and up.
What is it with, how about Derek Jeter? I mean, what a terrible human. I mean, right?
Well, you think he's the one who came up with this idea?
What is it with New York Yankees and Evan Mathis? I believe was a New York Giant. What is it?
He was also an Eagle
sports team.
I mean, come on.
I don't.
No. We're talking about New York right now. What is it with these New York sports teams trying to screw over card collectors? Joking aside, though, I mean, and I get the appeal, the idea of a repack, because that's what our collecting world has turned into. It's not about set building, right? It's about what's the biggest bang I can get from my buck. What can I buy that I could turn 10x, 20x my buy-in, and then sell the card I get for quadruple what I just paid for, 10 times what I just paid for. It's basically breaker's delight, right? We talked about that product.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at a certain point, you are just buying for that massive hit. You don't care about the cards themselves. You just want to try and make money off of it. So, I mean, I don't see I hate to use the word true collectors buying into repacks, because it's just about the gamble. It's not about the collecting, right?
Yeah, literally just about the gamble.
Just about the gamble.
I've said before that like the repacks of packs, I actually like those. Like those are I'm for those. Just
yeah,
because
that's a different thing.
It is, yeah. When I think of repack, that's the first thing that pops into my mind. So I always have to then change myself over talking about the single cards, which though I think those are terrible. I mean, they're not terrible as long as your expectations are realistic and you're not paying $300 for one, because you're not going to get $300 back.
Yeah. Well, way back in episode 1.
Wait, hold on. EP, drink.
Of this podcast,
2012 thing.
We covered an interview that Michael Rubin did on the Bill Simmons podcast. Well, I don't know if you guys heard, but Michael Rubin was on the Bill Simmons podcast again last week. I know, Joe, you're a huge Bill Simmons fan. And
Dan, go back to episode 1. I said a huge Bill Simmons stan.
So I'm sure
we can still say that nowadays.
We're very excited to get the call this week that we had to listen to the podcast. But yeah, it was very interesting. We'll start off up front with the one thing that everybody's talking about. And Michael Rubin, toward the end of the interview, did mention that they were auditing the results of where the cases and where the hits were going and whether they were going to certain people or not. And said they haven't really made this public. It's not something they've been standing on a soapbox talking about, but they've been doing it. I haven't watched any content. I know none of us did, because we didn't want to be jaded in our opinion on this, but people are questioning whether or not that's truthful. First of all, I'm going to say, I think it is. Like, I feel like the way he said it, why is he going to lie to Bill Simmons on his podcast about that? Like, I don't feel like that would be the place where you would do that. I do hope the audits found that, when you're doing breaks for Instagram of your own and the people are pulling their own cards out of the box, that, yeah, you're actually doing that. But apparently he feels confident in the fact that they're doing that and spending money to do that. I know some people don't believe it's really being done. I don't know. What were your thoughts on that, Joe?
I think it is. It would be stupid of Michael Rubin to go on to a pretty big podcast and lie, just flat out lie that, like, an audit is not. It's a real word with real consequences. When you think about it. So I don't think he would use a kind of a charged word like we're auditing. Like, he could have easily said, we're looking into it to make sure it doesn't happen. He specifically said auditing. So
he
to
named
me, that
the company,
and
too.
He named, was it the Luton Toys, one of the bigger,
something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So, I very, very much doubt. So people were actually thinking he was lying. I don't know. That seems silly to me. What I will say is I'm wondering when the auditing started. Was it when that famous athlete pulled the Roberto Clemente 101, or at what point did Michael Rubin say, we might want to audit this? I don't think they started it from the jump. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the internet people going out and saying, wait, this athlete pulled this card and this person pulled that card and it's getting a little shady.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's when they started. But hey, I don't have a problem with anyone, politicians, heads of companies, and really anyone going out seeing what people are talking about, reflecting on it, and then saying, you know what, we should look into this. I applaud that. I think that's smart business, smart politics, whatever you want to call it. But I'm hoping, and I truly believe that they are actually auditing it. Maybe not from the beginning, but at this point, they are definitely auditing what's going on there.
Yeah, I love that take. I was going to say the same thing about the word audit, because I mean that's you don't use that word. That's like a legal type word. Like that's not a word used if you're right. we're looking into it, we're reviewing it, like you said, Joe. But what my thought when this came up is like, what an undertaking for this company. That they're going to just watch all the breakers. Like, how are they going to be? How are you like realistically? Like, how can you pull this off with the amount of product that is being produced and being sent out, and all the different people that are getting it? Like, it's a pretty huge undertaking. You just wonder like the nuts and bolts of that kind of thing. And the other thing that I wanted to say about this is there was he just made an offhand comment, but really stuck out to me was he wants the people to complain, he wants the collectors to complain to him because he said that makes us better. And this seems like an example of that, where like he probably saw, okay, well, everybody's complaining about these people opening up their own cards on camera, all this sort of stuff. Like we need to do something about that. So I thought that was a really good line. That again, he's a businessman. You know, we don't know what he can talk slick, but that he's saying that on a podcast. I mean, that's again, I'm happy about that. So,
and like when they did the break and the Clemente was pulled, like, Michael Rubin may not have even known that. Like,
he was the only one who actually looked legitimately surprised.
Like, because that could have been something. There are other people involved there say, hey, wouldn't it be great if, and like maybe he didn't know that, maybe he did, I don't know. But I do applaud that they're doing this. And he did make a good point. If a company is buying 15% of the product and they're getting 15% of the big hits, like, that's how it works.
That means they're doing their job, right? I mean, that's their
and we have and I do think some of the promotional stuff was staged with people pulling like the Clemente and stuff. Like, I just do. But as far as the breakers go, I don't see that now like we were talking about maybe a year ago. Like, yeah, like I think you have a lot of people out there trying to, oh, well, they got this hit and that hit, so this means that they did this and they're all going there. Like, I feel like people are reaching for it because we saw it happening a lot, especially with backyard breaks, like a year and a half ago. And I don't think it's anywhere near that level now. And like, I just feel like, oh, well, they got this. Yeah, but there were like 20 other products where they didn't get it. So
I got it. Before EP talks, because I got to give EP full credit on this one. I think myself, maybe Mike to a lesser extent, we were definitely wearing the tinfoil hats on the juiced cases thing. EP from the jump had been saying they open up so much product.
That was Panini though. So we don't know.
But just in general, EP has been pushing back on this juice boxes thing. I mean, yeah, sure, maybe it's Panini versus Fanatics. That could be possible. But that being said, that was a good point that Rubin made was, 15%. If they're not getting 15% of the hits, then what are we doing wrong? Like, that means someone else is getting, when they buy 15%, are getting 30% of the hits. Like, it has to, at some point, it needs to kind of shake out. The math has to shake out a little bit, that if you're buying X amount, you should be getting X amount of the best stuff.
Yeah, I was just going to say that Backyard Breaks had this like meteoric rise where they were just uber popular, like just they were breaking and everybody was loving their stuff and they just kept climbing. And I wonder if they're not breaking quite as much as they were before. They probably still are breaking a lot, but I mean, if they're switching to repacks, like maybe that's a sign that they maybe grew a little too much and they were expecting it to be more, and now they kind of hit their ceiling or something. So I'm not sure there, but yeah, I feel like the volume of breaks they were doing probably led to why they were getting some of these big hits. And I listened to the Mojo Break podcast, Mojo Breaks, and they were talking about how they were like one of the original breakers from way back when. And they said, but that everybody goes through stretches where it seems like you are just getting juice cases where you're getting these 101s, you're getting the big hits out of the products, and that's just it's like a cyclical thing. And they said a number of times there's no juice cases going out. They were the ones that I kind of cited as
at the time. The world that we live in right now, not to turn this into a juice cases discussion, but I'll make this point real quick, is that there are so many product hits, case hits. Like there are very few times that there's just one card, right?
Mhm.
Like that Roberto Clemente was probably a case hit or a product hit or whatever, but there were probably 10 or 12 other massive, big 10, those product case hits out there, because that's the type of world we live in this hobby now, where everything is, any massive card is considered a product hit. There are so many massive cards in every product. They're not all truly product hits.
Well, auditing cases wasn't the only thing. It was actually a tiny little bit of the interview, but there was a lot of other interesting stuff I found in this. I know you guys have a little bit of a list too, so why don't we just go around the horn a little bit, and Joe, give us your impressions and what were some of the things that stood out to you.
The first thing, this is not a point about anything you said, but my God, I had to listen to this bad boy to half speed. That man can talk.
He can talk.
I loved it, man.
He talks so fast,
and he makes you go, "Oh wow, yeah!" He is good.
Yeah,
yeah.
Slick was the word I used. Yep,
top of the line businessman for sure. So as they were talking about more of the apparel side of it, this is not card related, but I found it very, very interesting. Mm-hmm. Bill Simmons, I don't know if you caught this, used the word monopoly when talking about apparel. And I said, shut that down right away when the word monopoly was used regarding apparel. That was my first takeaway, because as soon as he heard that, he's like, Panini's listening to this. I don't want to say we have a monopoly. They do. I mean, again, they legally don't, but they do, right? So that was very, very fascinating to me. And I saw he had mentioned at the beginning that, and I think we're going to go around the horn, so I won't take up too much time on this portion. $6 billion company. I didn't know it was that big. I knew it was billions of dollars. $6 billion company. That is crazy. And it's just going up. So they can take those, they spent a lot to get Topps. They're spending some money to get some other properties in the space.
I think the $6 billion was just
the apparel side,
merchandise. I think the company is worth over $30 billion, if I'm correct. Yeah,
I thought that I was gonna rip off Joe, because I thought that he said that the actual the market for all of the merchandise, like the sports apparel, is 30 billion, and that they were only 6 billion of that 30 billion. Which is what I think the argument he used as far as say that we're not a monopoly because it's a $30 billion business and we're 6 billion. We're only 6 billion.
They're only 20% of their valuation as a company is 31 billion. So the 6 billion was just the apparel part, the apparel side, the revenue from the apparel side, which is crazy.
Oh, it's crazy.
Bananas.
EP, what are some of your takeaways?
Well, I mean, I think the overall thing was the respect for athletes, and I think that was something that we talked about this ahead of time. I said this is just going to be a mention that I just like a one-off thing where his respect for athletes, and the thing that really got me, and this is kind of maybe a topic. The thing that really got me was he talked about James Harden playing blackjack with James Harden. He talked about Tom Brady. He talked about being in with the owners of the 76ers and all of his connections. But then he brought up multiple times Tony Clark, who the player representative for baseball, and just about so it's not just the people that are going to make headlines, like these can make headlines with or make inroads with. It's somebody who is important for the hobby, is like a liaison between all of the players and the card world. And I think that's a really, really important thing.
Yeah. And I mean, we've talked about that since episode 1 on the channel. His relationships with the league and with the players is by far better than any of these companies have ever had. And just his story about how the MLB debut patches came together. Great. It's kind of funny because there are people at Topps still there that are like, oh, we can't do that. We can't do that, which kind of gives you the old school versus new school philosophy they have there. We've talked about how the industry hasn't changed, and everybody, I think Bill Simmons said just sell them the burgers and fries. He said when he was on the Topps board, they didn't want to shake the boat up any bit. They wanted to just go out there and do what they do and make their money. And we talked about that. And they're changing things up. And like that MLB debut patch, he said whoever the person was that came up with, I should have written the name down, I forget, but like he came up with the idea and they originally said, oh no, that we can't do that. And
like MLB won't allow that. Like they were saying, they were pushing back saying
people, the old people there at Tops were like, oh, that's, we'd never be able to get that. And they got in touch with the players union head. They got in touch with the commissioner of the league. It was done like that. Yep. So this is what, like, not only he has the ability to do, but he's willing to do and wants to do. And we've talked about this ever since episode 1, like make the players part of it, like have the players go, oh, that'll be cool that they're going to take my patch and put it in a card. Like people, this is different thinking than the old way that they did things. And it does work and they're exciting things.
But it took that perfect storm. Like that's the problem. Like Panini could have had this idea. Upper Deck could have had this idea. Mm-hmm. They don't have Michael Rubin. So like you needed that guy. So, you know, I don't know how many ideas.
Did you though? Like, or was it just that they didn't even try? Like, I don't.
I think they didn't try because they got pushed back so much on. I don't know though. We talk about Michael Rubin as this mythological creature, right?
He really is at that point.
But,
yes.
Right. Bill Simmons talking about his experience on the Tops board, like they wouldn't even try to do that because they couldn't do it. Like they go, oh no, that's not what we do. So like, I feel like a lot of it is if you don't ask, they can't say yes. Right. So I don't think these other companies have ever even tried to do this stuff. They were happy.
If Joe Schmo from Tops calls up and says, hey, we want to put a patch, because the one thing that the guy did say is, well, you guys make the jerseys, so it makes sense that you'd be able to do this. Like, I think it had a lot to do with the person making the ask. And if not,
that helps, but you have to have the idea. Like, they never even had the idea. They never even tried to do that kind of stuff. So yeah, him having his relationships will help. But like, I'm just saying Panini hasn't tried that. Tops before Fanatics came along, they're just happy to do what they do. And like, I feel like them having new ideas there now, I am a little excited because the MVP buyback was great. I think the debut patch was great. I'm hopeful they'll continue to come up with other great ideas.
The thing is, like Joe said, perfect storm. And I think Rubin kind of is that perfect storm where he's bringing in these ideas, and the way he delivered when he was telling the story, I loved how he phrased it. He was like, they told him, we can't do that. They won't allow us to do that. And then he said, I went to talk to Tony Clark and said, oh yeah, we can do that. Like, I mean, it was that, like, that's how, as a matter of fact, it was, is like somebody told him we can't do that. And he said, well, I'm going to go see if that's true. And they said, no, we can do that. And that delivery to me, it kind of like summarized what Michael Rubin has been for Tops so far, or Fanatics so far, like the combination. So we'll see. I really like that. So
it's very strange to me that I'm the one talking about how Michael Rubin is this mythological creature and is making all these things happen. And Mike's actually the one pushing back on, no, they just didn't try. Anyone could have done it. And I'm like, I don't know. I think Michael Rubin is a big part of this equation. I think you need.
I didn't say he wasn't, but I'm saying that you have to have the idea to be able to take to them. And there's a difference between saying they didn't try to do it and saying that Michael Rubin didn't have any. I think I clearly said that they didn't try, but trying and having him is even better. You need to listen better, Joe. But one of the things, Joe, that okay, let me mute you here. One of the things that I picked up in the early parts about it, when they were talking about the clothing and stuff, he was talking about how Nike does a lot of collaborations with important people, like pop culture icons and stuff, and how they do limited releases of their sneaker drops and how popular they are, and how he wants to do that with Fanatics with their apparel. But I also see that as something that could translate to the card world too. You know, Tops did that Ben Baller set a couple years ago. Like, I could see things like having a Tops Chrome or a Bowman Chrome such and such edition where they do a limited edition drop of a card product. I think that kind of stuff might be coming to the hobby. I think that'll be one of the ways. I don't see him as a person with all his connections who you would do that for your apparel side, but you wouldn't find a way to translate it to the card hobby. I think that could be kind of interesting too. What are your thoughts on that?
It's really weird to me, limited edition apparel.
It's a
my
big
mind,
Jordans,
big.
sneakers.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
huge.
huge.
It's a huge thing. Like, because, like, to your point, Mike, it would be weird not to do it with cards, because that's something you would actually think. Cards aren't things you put on your body every day, or potentially could, and walk. Like, their utility is to be collected. Their utility is to be displayed, right, or put into a box and saved. Shirts and shoes, generally, they're most of their utility is wearing them on a daily basis.
Sounds like an old man, Joe.
Okay.
There's a certain coolness. Like, clothing, though, has always been cool. And when you limit stuff, if
it's limited, you not wear it.
People wear it, but a
lot of people put it on display just like a card.
Yeah, that like to put on a pair of sneakers that only they have around there. And people go, "Oh, you got those Jordans," and it's like kind of a status thing.
But I don't think, unless you're super rich, I don't think you actually wear them. Do you?
I think some people
wear
do.
Those. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Some people collect sneakers, but a lot of people wear them too, because you can be cool.
I guess that
people wanting to be cool is a big thing, right?
That proves my point even more. If you're doing it in apparel, things that you can wear and damage as you were walking around, why wouldn't you do it in cards? Things that people automatically, as soon as they see a card, they put it into a sleeve, put it into a top loader, or send it off to be graded. So obviously that would make a lot of sense. It would be surprising if they didn't have limited things. And again, not to bring it up from last week, I think it's all going to be super cheap. So it'll be great to have this limited stuff.
Okay, can we leave that
a box? No, never.
Yeah.
Listening to the podcast, and I would encourage everybody to go listen to the podcast, at least the Michael Rubin, part of it. But don't skip the merchandising part, because you really, I feel like you're really get like you get into the gears, like the gears in his mind, like how he thinks and how he operates his businesses and stuff. So you don't want to skip that part. And I had the same thought as like there are like Topps already kind of does that a little bit, but I can see them really leaning into like that Topps Derek Jeter X, or like it was Aaron Judge X. Like they've done a couple things like that. But I feel like you said, Mike, they're going to really lean into this kind of thing going forward. Yeah, I mean that just makes sense. Joe said that too. Like it just makes sense to do it.
All right, Joe, what else did you pick out of this little interview?
I liked, this is actually, again, this is more on the apparel side. He talked about brand collaborations. And as he's talking about, like, oh, someone from this company came and said, wouldn't it be cool if we worked with you to make a jersey about whatever? Or I forget, they were talking about different companies approaching Fanatics, approaching him, and working together on a product. And it made me think, is that something we could see in the future with cards? Is that
Let
something
me just interject too? He also talked about the ticket side of things, like saying that like Ticketmaster and Live Nation were really big companies. So instead of them trying to get into tickets, also collaborating with them on their app. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in.
So the thing I'm thinking is, at some point, does he try to do that with Upper Deck and say, hey, we'd really like to make a hockey set. Is there a way we can work together? Kind of like the Sony Marvel kind of collab for Spider-Man, right? Can we work together to make a really cool hockey set? We'll produce it. We have all these printers. We do, we're massive. We can put this together, but you'll get a taste of the profits or something.
Make a Michael Jordan.
That would be massive. That would be so massive. Right? Oh my gosh.
So like, I'm thinking if he's thinking about this in apparel, again, a lot of this stuff translates to collectibles. Like, why wouldn't he? Now he's not going to do it with Panini. I mean, though, business makes strange bedfellows, as they always say, right? So maybe down the road, Topps owns Rated Rookies. Who knows, right? But like something big, like that's too small for him, right? Buying Rated Rookies or buying the Donruss brand or whatever, that's too small for him. Working with Upper Deck to have exclusive Michael Jordan stuff in their products, come on. That's
once they get the
a Rubin
basketball
thing.
license too. Like
Right.
imagine
Yeah.
that if they worked with them somehow
And
to have
to
them
Upper
in it.
Deck, all you have to do is lend them the IP that you have, the exclusive deal that you have, and you're going to make a boatload of money, like a ton of money.
And again, the way he thinks, like you can't. There's no way he's not looking at the buzzer on Connor Bedard and the hockey right now and the prices of Series 2 cases of Upper Deck hockey. There's no way that there aren't people that are thinking we need to figure out a way to get into the hockey, especially when a big player like this is coming around. So that I love that idea, Joe. That's a very good idea.
The fear for Upper Deck of that is he's just gonna buy the hockey licenses, right? Like I don't think that's what Upper Deck would want, but like a collab versus just buying the licenses, I think is more what I was thinking of. But you're right, EP, with the buzz around Upper Deck hockey right now. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if there are people.
Imagine him though working some kind of deal with Upper Deck to produce an NBA Metal Universe set with Michael Jordan in it, like that kind of thing.
Money. I would waste so much money.
Yeah, and think of the money like a company like Upper Deck could make. Like they're not hurting their own sales if they do that.
No,
I don't know. Like I don't know if their deal with Michael Jordan allows them to do that or not. But like definitely the brand IP they could do that with. They could make a huge amount of money off that just by collaborating with Fanatics. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what I thought of when as soon as Joe said that, I thought like that would just be a massive collaboration, a massive set. So many people would be playing that. Even I realize that hockey is not as popular as the other sports here in America, but I still feel like that would be just a massively popular set. And then to have those two, like the tops and Upper Deck, like top/Upper Deck or whatever on the back of the card or whatever, I think a lot of people, like collectors like me, would also be interested in something like that as a novelty type of thing.
Absolutely, yeah, that'd be huge.
Yeah.
Okay, EP, what other points have you picked out?
Well, I mean, one of the massive ones, and again, there was just so many. Like he said, so many things throughout the entire course of the show, and they were like just a one-off. Like just said the words, and then they just kept going. It was like action packed. Again, I recommend everybody go listen to it. They doubled the top staff. Did I hear that?
That's what I heard.
Yeah, tops.
I did. Yeah.
Well, so, aren't they? And this is not a slam on Tops or Fanatics or anything. Wasn't a lot of them Panini staff? Wasn't that a big thing? Panini hiring?
Allegedly,
yeah.
To
double the workforce.
Double. It seems like that's a lot. Like that's a huge commitment for them financially, and also to the hobby and Tops itself.
Yeah, in 2 years' time too. I think they've only had Tops for 2 years. Yeah, that's a little crazy. One of the things. Okay. We've been very positive about things. Now, one of the things I picked out in here, going way back to episode 1, he talked about wanting to have everything for the sports fan in an app in one place. He is still all in on that. He wants you to be able to do everything. Yeah. But one of the things he slipped in, I couldn't hear what the word was he was using though, but when he was talking about wanting fans to be able to watch a game and be able to buy the jersey and be able to place a bet. And he also said, watching card prices go up or down based on performance. And he said, being able to do something in game. I listened to it like 50 times. I couldn't understand what word he used there, but like, kind of sounds to me like he envisions you to be able to take your James Harden card because he loves James Harden and he's having a good game and be able to sell that card somehow at a profit during the game because he's throwing 50 points up. Like that one, I don't really like that little part of it because I don't think you should take card prices down to that micro level of what's happening in a quarter, but like that's kind of like
I think that's the world we live in, though.
It is. Like I'm sure I'm out of touch.
Now you sound like the old man.
No, I am. I admit that, but
we all sound like old men.
Scare me a little bit, but I think like they might have some kind of marketplace or something that you can almost trade them like stocks during a game. Is that what I heard?
That's what I heard too. And it reminded me very much, they're different things, but it reminded me very much of like the commercials for the different betting apps where it's like, you can bet on a specific pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Like That's scary. As someone who likes to gamble, by the way, he and I play blackjack very similarly, but with much less stakes. I find a table by myself, and I don't want anyone else sitting there. And I'll do that quite a bit. But yeah, like that part of it, I was like, you're basically transferring that. You can bet on every pitch. Like if someone hits a home run, their cards are going to go up, right, in the moment. But again, that's kind of how cards are at this point from game to game. Justin Herbert, if he goes out there and throws 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, tomorrow his cards are going to be on eBay for higher than they were before. So he's taking it down to the game and the minute, the at bat. That's kind of scary, especially in a card market that for all intents and purposes is down. So you are getting really excited about a card. Let's say it was $100 and that guy just dropped, 40 points in an NBA game. Now the card's worth 150, but guess what? 2 days later, it's probably going to be back to 100, or maybe if he fouls out of a game, it's going to be down to 75. So it is scary, especially for people who are gambling addicts, because this again is just gambling, and it's I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. It really makes me nervous about you. Sure, you can do it on your own at eBay. You can go and a guy just has a great game, so you can jump on eBay and type up so-and-so player and try and buy their card right away after they have a big game. Sure, you can do that on your own. But for a large company like Fanatics kind of pushing you in that direction as you're watching the game, making a bet on a game, I don't know. It kind of sounds like you're taking advantage of people who are not good at self-control. Which is what casinos do.
Yeah, I mean, really, like the what you're doing is with the app, like you're making it easier to do that. Like that's the bottom line. Like we live in a hobby where the hobbyists, like you said, Joe, somebody scores 40 points tonight, and they want you want their cards. Like during the game, you're going on eBay, you're going to buy the cards. Then he breaks his leg in the fourth quarter, and the cards drop in price. Like that's the kind of the world we live in, as both of you have said. Yeah. But I feel like, again, it's smart business. I don't know if it, again, is good for the hobby, but it is smart business to capitalize. Like, where else can you capitalize on this? How can we take that that going to eBay and buying that card? How can we make that better? Well, we can just have people do it that second. They're watching. Instantly. I thought to myself, listening to just one more thing, Joe. When he's talking about the app, like there's so much. The app was a relatively long part, but there's a lot of different stuff in there, and I thought to myself, they will have the player's license and the team licenses, right? So in theory, they could also run the broadcasts if they got permission. Like they could run broadcasts on this app. So you can be sitting there watching a broadcast, maybe tap on a player, have the thing pop up and say, "Oh, I want to buy his rookie card right now." Like the potential is there for this really amazingly horrible thing.
Bill Simmons brought that up too, because of Amazon doing that with the Black Friday game, because they paid $100 million to the NFL to do that one game, but they were offering products and stuff.
Oh, they put the
QR codes. Yeah. So, because he did mention to Michael Rubin about, are you guys ever going to try to get into rights? And he didn't say no.
He didn't say
kind of said not yet. Was what I took from it. So yeah,
and EP, you said it very well, that it's probably not the best for collectors, especially we even know collectors in our personal life who don't have limits and they will just buy. This is not great for people like that, and that's why this quote, I wrote it down, that Fanatics is doing only what's best for collectors. I don't believe that's true. Fanatics is doing what's best for Fanatics. If collectors are doing okay, cool. But stuff like that, Mike, stuff like you just brought up that we've been talking about, kind of scares me for collectors. It's really preying on those who don't have self-control, which is a lot of people in this hobby. But again, and this is, I've shit on Fanatics the last few weeks, their business is their business. Like, they're trying to have a business. They're trying to make money. That's what they're in the world for, right? It's not to help collectors. Maybe collectors, I think we said it on the last episode, maybe the true collectors will get some of the scraps that they leave behind, but they're focused on money. And that is a huge way of how they're going to do it. That basically in-game gambling.
Yeah, that's not their, I mean, that's not their the collectors with the problems are not what they're going to focus on, right? Like they have to have the positive outlook where we need to sell these cards. We want people to buying these cards. They're not worried about the other side of it. Like they're just pushing forward with the forward stuff,
which is very much how casinos operate.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's great for the hobby, but I mean, from their business perspective, that's what they're looking at, right? Like that's what they want.
All right, well, one more. Let's take one more trip around the horn here.
Oh my God, I have like 10 more.
I only have one more, so.
All right, Joe, pick your best one you have there.
Oh. EP, you go first. You only have one more.
Okay.
It's the word fan cash that he used, which we texted about it before we did this podcast. Yeah. It was interesting. So I mean, like rewards points for doing stuff, gambling, through FanDuel. You get rewards points, which is, I mean, that's a way to keep people in there. And the whole thing we talked about a couple times, Joe's talked about a couple times, like it's keeping people in the casino, keeping people doing what they're doing, and just keeping the train going.
Yeah, and when you bet through Fanatics, you're going to get a percentage of every bet you make back into your fan cash account, and then you can take that to make other bets, or you could buy clothing, or you could buy collectibles, which is kind of the neat part of integrating that. If you do bet on games, you can get some of that stuff back. It's like, being comped at the casino and being able to go down to the gift shop and get yourself a nice little casino sweatshirt. But you'll be able to use it for cards. You did get golf clubs. Yeah. So it is kind of I mean, just shows you though how they want everything to be intertwined. And
yes,
I mean, that's just any company would.
Business.
I'm not saying good, bad, or indifferent, like just how it's going to be with that company. But yeah, I mean, at least give you an incentive. If you're losing, at least you might be able to get a little money back in a Justin Herbert card.
Right? I'll spend $200 more. Like I'm gonna get some. I'm gonna get $2 back. $2 back on it.
You know what it reminded me of? A much more addictive Kohl's Cash. I don't know if you guys have ever right Kohl's Cash. Like I was buying some T-shirts at Kohl's, and they were like, spend $8 more and you can get $10 more in Kohl's Cash. I'm
exactly.
Like, that doesn't check out. I'm not going to spend $8 more for 10. All right, I came up with a couple. Okay. So I'm just two of them I'm gonna wrap into one thing. So it sounds like he wants to straight up eliminate redemptions, and he said there were only 1,000 total redemptions in the most recent. Was it the most recent Bowman? It was like one of the more recent releases. That there were only 1,000 total redemptions, and they've eliminated like 97% of redemptions.
95%. 95 lower in new products, yeah.
In new products. So that's great. And then kind of tied in with that, he did mention only game-worn material. That's something EP guaranteed a couple of weeks ago, if you remember that.
So EP was right.
EP was
Way
right.
To go, EP.
What I will say about the only game-worn material, I would hope so. Like they actually have an apparel company. You would hope that they would be able to, get game worn material. He has these relationships with these clubs. You would hope, but again, you've made the point before, Mike. I believe, like, do people actually care about game worn or not? People always say they do, but then they spend the money. So, but it's nice that he's actually thinking that way. That game worn material is an important thing. And then my last one. Apparently, hobby shop owners are extremely happy with Fanatics. I don't know if that's true. I don't go to a hobby shop as much as you guys go to a local card shop. So I'm interested in your thoughts on that. I'm interested if there's anyone who goes to a local card shop. Comment below. Are the card shops happy with Fanatics? Are they worried about Fanatics? Are they worried they were going to have to update their shops to get Fanatics products, things like that? I don't know the answer.
He also said the number of direct accounts have grown from 300 to 800. So they have a lot more hobby shops buying direct from them now. Like he talked about cutting the distribution out like he did in the last one we listened to. Like we laid out the plan, and he's still clearly sticking to the plan. That's one overview.
I think he listened to episode 1 before he did this podcast.
I think he watched
episode 1. That's what I'm saying. I think
he had to remember what he said, and
right, but exactly.
It does sound like they're growing their hobby accounts and cutting out distribution. And he claimed that those savings are being passed on to us. I don't know that I've seen that, but or at least the hobby shops are being able to make a little bit more money out of it instead of the distributors making all the money. So I do applaud that. I think that's a good thing.
Hopefully that is true. Yes.
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, that is what he said.
I wrote down. I took all the things. My list was only the things I was afraid maybe that you guys might not bring up, because I know you guys both said you had exhaustive lists, and I listened to the podcast after you guys. So mine was only that, but I did want to comment on all the things that Joe just brought up. I'll comment quickly. First off, when he said that about redemptions, he's like, when coming into this, he had no idea what a redemption was. Like he said that he's like, I don't know, no idea what this is, and he said, but apparently they had these cards that they never got signed by somebody. So it makes me almost sound like an incredulous thing. So I'm glad that he's been working on that. So
like when he talked about redemptions and when he found out, and had the way he talked about game used jerseys, like it sounded like one of us being on a podcast complaining about the crap they put in there. So I did appreciate that part of it. Yeah. Okay. The one other thing. Oh, go ahead, EP.
I was gonna say. Well, I want to comment quickly on the two other things on the game worn stuff. Like he was talking about this, at one point. It seemed like he almost said like there's not a place for the napkins, like just the plain pieces. I disagree. I think in like lower end stuff that's fine. Obviously not in anything higher end. You shouldn't have anything like that. We would all want to have a patch, but I still think don't throw away the rest of the jersey. It's still cool to get a jersey card every once in a while. And then the connection with the athletes, like literally Fanatics could have 10 uniforms for every player at every game and have them change. At certain times throughout the game, at least 4, for one for each quarter, they could do that. And so there's no like limitations there, in my opinion. So I think that would be something they should look into. And the hobby shop thing, I think our hobby shops around here are not necessarily have this connection with Topps. I think ours are smaller than that. So so I mean, that hasn't quite hit them yet. But I wonder if maybe if they expand and then it ends up coming to some of the smaller hobby shops.
Well, when he said that about hobby shops are happy with Fanatics, I think he means what he envisions as hobby shops. I don't think he's envisioning Docs. I don't think he's envisioning Mike's Upper Deck from the 90s. I think he's envisioning. What's Jeff Wilson's called?
Cards HQ.
Cards HQ. I think
he is
that's
not paying us to keep bringing that up.
Right. To your point, EP, about the napkin, real quick. I don't mind napkins either. The little plain white napkin patches. Right. I don't mind those either if they're game used.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. Like if things aren't game used, they should all be like beautiful 3-color patches.
Right.
Like you're just getting stuff from Hobby Lobby. Just throw it in a card. What's it matter? But if you're using game used material, I don't mind those, especially in low end products. I still think it's a great hit.
Yeah. Okay.
Give a little bigger piece of it though, and like let us know what game it's from. I think that would be kind of cool.
Just go back to the 90s. Go back to the 90s and look at.
If they could do it in the 90s, they should be able to do it now.
Absolutely. All right. Well, the one other thing that I thought was pretty huge, actually, where he said that they're going to put microchips into high-end cards to be able to track the authenticity of it. I mean, that is a great idea. Technology's out there. Like, why not? If we're never going to have to worry about it. People watching us never going to have to worry about it. But I do kind of think that, the people that are going to buy some of that high-end stuff would be nice to be able to guarantee that it's authentic, and being able to have a chip in it that can verify the authenticity. Like, what an amazing thing to do for the people that are playing in that sandbox.
I have in my thing chips and high-end cards, and I had no idea what I meant when I wrote that. So thank you for bringing that
you got a pack of Lay's.
Pack of Lay's potato chip.
Delicious.
So my question about this, actually, now that you reminded me what it meant, how is that verified? So is there going to be like a app with your phone that you can like sense? Like who's verifying that that's a real card? Like there needs to be. You're giving me the thing. I need the other thing. I need both parts of this, because if you're just saying you're putting a chip, it's like taking your dog and getting your dog chipped. Right. But how I got a code so I can pull that up. How are you going to do that with the card? That's all I need to know. It's a great idea. I'm not poo-pooing it. I just need to know how that is in theory, it's great. In practice, I just need to know how it actually works.
Yeah, we don't know that yet, but before I say that part, I this you're not gonna be able to replicate this, right? Like that's the thing. Like you're not like in theory you're not gonna be able to replicate this, but
not in like 10 years maybe, but
right.
Well, not.
I would be willing to bet that they probably use like a RFID technology, which is where just like your credit card, where you can pass it over the thing and it reads it or whatever. So there's like a Skylanders video game where you have like little characters, you put them on the thing, and there's like a Disney version of that too, where you put the character on the little reader and then you can play as that character in the game. It's probably that kind of technology, which that's not super expensive. That they could have that at every desk at PSA or every desk at SGC or whatever, and so they can do that sort of stuff. So we don't know that for sure, but that's what they could use. But what do you guys think? Do you think they could easily replicate that? I know, Joe, you said give them 10 years. They'll figure out a way.
Well, my point is that throughout the decades, people have gotten better and better at, scamming people. So yeah, eventually the technology will be available for someone to scam. I mean, it's just how it works. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm saying it's a great idea, but scammers are always going to find ways to scam, right? So It may take 10 years to figure this out. It may take 15. But eventually we're going to be sitting here 15 years from now, and we're going to be saying, hey, how about the equivalent of Evan Mathis just found a way to scan those cards that have the chips in them? Like, I would that surprise either of you? Just knowing
no, probably not.
No, not at all. No.
It's going to take a lot of work, though. Yeah. So
that's what I'm saying. 10 to 15 years. It won't be when it first comes out. It'll definitely be a labor of love for scammers to try and figure that out.
All right. Well, I think I'll wrap it up there. Now we have a new reference point. We can say back in episode 88. And
no, we're still going back to episode.
No, we're going back to episode 1 because honestly, the general overview was, I felt like this was pretty much the same interview that we did almost 2 years ago, just rehashed with a little more, specifics with them having owned tops now for a little while. But don't you think kind of overall it was pretty much the same exact thing, which I give him credit. Like, he has a vision, like it is clear as day. He has a vision. He has not wavered from it and isn't going to waver from it. So like it or not, what he says is what they want to do. And I feel like this pretty much confirms it, because I did have a strong sense of deja vu listening to the podcast.
And he also had his points he wanted to make. And again, he
made them a couple times too.
Right. That's what I was going to say. He had his talking points, and he was going to make sure he got those out there. I will say, Mike, I'm kind of surprised your favorite moment in that entire podcast was when Bill Simmons referred to him as the sports czar, because you were asking a couple of pods ago if the word czar was still a thing people said. And I heard that. I wrote it down right away. Sports czar. So yes, czar is still a thing, apparently.
If Bill Simmons can use it, we can use it.
Bill Simmons. And we're running out of time. I was actually going to make a point about where Bill Simmons was wrong, but I will not, because I am a Bill Simmons stan. So we have to
Bill
move
Simmons is never wrong.
He's never wrong. I love Bill Simmons.
Well, while this was a rehash for Michael Rubin, also it was almost like a victory lap too, because he was checking off the boxes of the things that he's done, right? Yeah. So like, I mean, yeah, definitely.
All right, guys, that was a fun chat this week. I hope everybody enjoyed it, and we will see you next week. Take care, guys.
Adios.
Yeah, boys.